Good afternoon, everybody. I see we have quite a number of people joining our webinar this afternoon on maintaining sanity and hope. So as you join, you may want to use the chat function to announce yourself, who you are, and from where you are. Thank you, everybody. We'll just give a couple of minutes for everybody to join.
Okay, that's perfect.
That's great. People are doing very well. Our numbers are increasing. You can use the chat function and put in your name and from where you are. We do see that we have quite a global presence in our webinars, and it's also interesting for us to see from where you are. That's part of being in South Africa, the diversity. So here we have Lauren from Cape Town. Welcome, Lauren. Joanita, welcome, Joanita. Joanita is one of our keen attendees. She attends every one of our webinars. Welcome, Joanita. Good to see you again. Alan, Sia Singwe from Westland, Vaneshka from Bloemfontein, Kirsten from Cape Town. Pleasure, Joanita. You can use your chat box to announce yourself. Ilandri from Pretoria, welcome. Amber from Cape Town. Okay, so we have quite a number of Cape Townians today. You are more than welcome. Right, it seems to me that most people have joined. Raina Singh from Pretoria, Shireen from Pretoria, Ilandri, I already said hi to you. Gail from Bloemfontein, welcome. From the cold Bloemfontein, I suppose. Letitia from Johannesburg. Thank you, everybody. That's good to see you here. And Precious from Polokwane. Welcome, Precious. Thank you. Right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Elmi Castleman. I'm the Regional Director for Southern Africa, Golden Key International Honor Society. And I have the pleasure and the honor to introduce our guest speaker for today. I battled to get a space in the calendar, but when she hears Golden Key as an honorary Golden Key member, she made time for us. So Elegance, thank you very much for hosting Maintaining Sanity and Hope this afternoon. We really appreciate your time. And just for the audience, I want to tell you that we got you the best to address this topic. Elegance is an experienced professional in talent development management with over 15 years of corporate experience. She worked in multifaceted environments that included banking, telecommunications, and fast-moving consumer goods, so that she can deal with a lot if you can survive FMCG. Her key expertise includes multi-industry experience. She has gained extensive experience working across various geographical divides, which I am then honored to say that you also have a very diverse audience today. And she excels in 4 primary key themes, which includes her experience, innovation, delivery, commitment, and influencing. She has successfully led and influenced continental and global functions at multiple levels, where she's a natural leader, and you will see why I say that, in operating both on a strategic and a hands-on capacity. Elegance, I don't want to take your time with sharing more about you, because I know the moment you open your mouth, everybody will know, oh yeah, that's Elegance. Thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate it. Thank you for being an active honorary member. We also appreciate that. So everybody, we'll use the Q&A function to ask questions during the presentation, and I'll help Elegance to manage the questions, and I'm going to hand over to Elegance. Thank you very much, Elegance. The floor is yours.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Elmi, for that resounding introduction. It often gives a lot of pressure. So let me just do a sound check. Am I audible enough? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I'm sure the audience can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. If at any
now.
given point You know, with technology, oh yes, I can see that there is one of the, you know, audience members. Yeah, I can see a few are coming through loud and clear. Somebody says, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
I would really, really like to, you know, say thank you to the Golden Key, you know, Society for inviting me, you know, to this, you know, to host. You know, when Elmi approached me in the beginning, I was just kind of, you know, nervous and anxious, right? Because how do you address a bunch of very intelligent and smart people, right? You know, in academia, you know, it was kind of, you know, a bit scary. But, you know, the topic that we have chosen to be talking about here, I think it's a topic that I have engaged with at multiple levels. As you probably would, you know, have picked up from the introduction, I am working with emerging talent at the moment. So I work with very young people like yourselves. You know, my role, both inside and outside Vodacom, you know, includes, you know, very much from the grassroots. You know, we look at, you know, young girls that are in grade 9, you know, how do we teach them to code? How do we keep driving more females into STEM, you know, professions or academic professions to start with, and all the way through to young people coming into the organization. So all of you guys that are on the call are pretty much, you know, you are pretty much my audience, right? So the topic that we chose is the topic that I have taken out there and I've really engaged. I've interviewed students, you know, from all over the world, you know, basically, you know, to try and just really gauge where everybody is at. We are in unprecedented times, and it can be really, really difficult and daunting, you know, especially that we can't see the end in mind. So what I'm going to do is I would like to just start, and I'm going to share, you know, my presentation. I was saying to Elmi earlier, if you do see that there hasn't been any, you know, sort of spell check done on it, don't worry about it. Let's focus on the content, right? I'm hoping that by the time that we are done, you know, you have picked up some kind of nuggets, you know, that can just really help you through, you know, these difficult times that we're currently facing. So yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to be taking you through today. All right, I just want to also make sure that, you know, my Elmi, just note if you can see my presentation.
Yes, it's perfect.
Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to get straight into it, guys, because we only have just under an hour to be able to complete this, right? So the introduction has already been done. I'm just going to go through the agenda very, very quickly of what we would like to cover. You know, we've gone through the agenda. I'm just going to do a very quick icebreaker with you guys. Just, I call it a barometer. I always want to check the mood of my audience, and I'll tell you exactly how we're going to do it. I'm also just going to talk a little bit about the current environment and how it's affecting all of us, because I think it is important for us to pause for a moment and acknowledge the fact that we have a challenge. You know, and the fact that wherever you're at in this challenge that you're expecting is absolutely normal. We also then going to get into just understanding where could we be finding hope in these, you know, difficult and uncertain times. And we're going to speak about opportunities, because the hope is in the opportunities that are available, both at a collective level and at an individual level. Then I'm going to go through a bit of a survival kit, you know, just some nuggets around, you know, what can keep us sane in these times. And then I will conclude, and then I'll open up for questions. Okay. All right. So I'm going to toggle between two screens. Now I just want to go to the, you know, to the other screen, where, you know, I would like us to just do a little bit of a mood check. Let's do a bit of a barometer here. Right, so audience, this is what I would like you to do. On your phones, please do go to the website, www.menti.com, menti, MENTI.com. Once we are there, it's going to ask us to, or ask you to put in a code, and I'm just going to call out the code. It's quite simple. It's 6435 I just would like to see some thumbs up if we're winning. Are we winning? Sorry, because I'm on this screen, Elmi, you're going to have to just help me to see if everyone is winning.
Yes, they haven't responded yet. I'm on, Amber. Yes, they come through now.
Okay.
I think there's a slight time delay. But
okay.
Yes, people are on. I'm also on myself, just to make sure that I also check my mood. So yes, people are on. Yes, can I have the code again?
I can see that. The code is 643530.
Thank you. Gillian also wrote it. Gillian is also online, guys. Gillian is our associate director, and she's also helping. She put the code in the chat box for you to read. And people are joining. Thank you for the code. Good.
I can see that, you need to put in all your 3 entries because at this point in time, you could be a lot of things. Okay, we're going to give it another minute or so. I can see that the word cloud is getting populated. I can see.
Okay, people are. Thank you. They're on.
Yes, they are. Yes, I can see that it's coming through. 13 people have already logged. Let's carry on. Another minute.
Yes, if anybody battles to get to menti.com or need the code again, just raise your hand here in the chat box.
Elmi, don't you want to also just type it in the chat box as well?
I will.
Menti.com, code 643530. Okay, 17 out of our 28 participants have completed. That's really great. Thirty more seconds, just 30 more seconds.
Right, so I'm sure you are all joining. How does it look like, Elegance?
Fantastic. It's 18, so I'm happy that we can, we can sort of, they can still continue to do that. But let's just, I don't know how many people will be able to actually see this. I do know that Elmi and Gillian, you can see.
Yes,
but I just want to pause. I just want to pause a little bit, right? Because this actually just gives me deja vu. So the way the word cloud works is that the smaller the letter, there's probably 1 or 2 people. The bigger the letter, it's many people. So when you see a word getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it means many people. So if people keep typing stress, that's how we see it popping, right? But right at the center of it, at this point in time, I'm going to just read out what this is. This is just about where you at this point in time. And it is totally normal. So you have seen that, Elmi, you saw that it kind of, changed a little bit because there's 21 people. That means that there's more people that have actually been typing in. The beauty of it is that we could talk to it and still 28 people can complete. It will just be changing the picture, right? So for those that are able to see this, visibly, a lot of you are expressing your emotions at the moment in terms of where you're at. And the biggest 3 letters that are actually 3 words that are popping right here that has got the majority of you is stressed, worried, anxious, overwhelmed. Those are 4 big letters. And the very smallest, which indicates just only one person, or maybe 2 people at the most, is fine, hopeful, loving, content, tense, confused, lonely, hopeless. So those are, you know, this is just a picture. It's actually a picture that I'm going to share with you after the presentation, because I think it's just really key critical, you know, to just understand where people are at. So the purpose of me starting in this way is to acknowledge where every single person is, because where every single person is absolutely authentic. And it was also for me to try and validate some of the things that I've actually put in the presentations, which you will see shortly, without even seeing this picture, because this is where majority of you guys are at, especially the young people. So I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm just going to get into the main, you know, part of the presentation.
Very interesting. So I think it's also reassuring for the audience to know that they're not alone in feeling worried, anxious, stressed, and exhausted and uncertain. It's actually become norm. It's normal to feel like this in the situation we're in.
Absolutely. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'll get into the meaty part of the presentation, and you know, we can then carry on and we can start unpacking, you know, some of these things. All right, if I do get a bit of delay with my technology, you should just forgive me a little bit. I am okay. All right, so I've done this. We've done that. Right. So what are some of the key things that we can actually say at this point in time? First of all, where we find ourselves is an acknowledgement of being authentic of where things are at. It's one thing to say, let's stay positive, but it's another to actually acknowledge that the space in which we are is a difficult space. We are just living amidst what is potentially one of the greatest threats in our lifetime, whether if you look at it economically, socially, and it has a major educational crisis. We have an invisible enemy amongst us, this coronavirus, and it has literally upended our lives. It has completely changed the way we work. Earlier on, we were talking about the fact that, hey, we're just sitting here, we're sitting in our homes, and there's probably no chance that we're going to go back to our offices anytime soon. It has changed the way we live. I mean, you've got your mom, your dad, your family down the road, but you can't go see them, because that is the new demonstration of love, is by actually being apart from them. What a strange world. And it has also affected the way we learn. You know, guys, you're on the call, you're not at varsity, you're at home and trying to learn from them. And most importantly, this has happened all of a sudden. We have been faced or forced to face a situation that none of us had ever anticipated. I mean, who remembers celebrating 2020? We were all celebrating 2020, and some were calling it 2020. We had no idea that we were referring to 20 plenty of corona and plenty of problems. But this is also happening all over the world, right? Let me just move this band up there. The impact is felt in a number of key areas for students. And again, guys, I keep just emphasizing the fact that this is happening all over the world, just so that we can understand that we have a reality here, but this reality is impacting worldwide. It is a tricky time to readjust to completing your university from home. We are hearing mixed messages around what's going to happen, who's going to come back, when people are going to come back. You are having to watch or attend lectures online, and it's not always conducive, because we know that in our country there is inequality to access. Not everybody can access technology equally, irrespective of the fact that some universities would have given the equipment. But I work in telecommunications, and I can tell you now, I can tell you this for nothing, that we are not everywhere. If somebody is sitting right in the heart of Mudanzane, you know, you may actually not have access. But that's home. You've been asked by the university to go home, and you are expected at the same time to continue learning. We are also being very uncertain around, exams, what's going to happen, the tests that we have to write. And of course, we are being limited in the houses to the houses that we actually, live in at the moment. We miss our friends and family. I did say that, I did mention that. And socially, we may also be feeling very isolated and miss out on those interaction we enjoy in a classroom environment. This is a very wide subject, but I had to narrow it down in order for you to identify with it, in order for it to actually make sense to you. Now let's talk about, how does this make us feel? We are actually a bag of emotions at the moment. Contrast, look at what we picked up from the barometer and look at what I've got here. Like I've said, I have been interviewing people. I have been sensitizing different groups of people. There is a sense of hopelessness. When you look at what's happening all over the world, you start asking your questions. What then? We are just Africa. What is going to happen? If Italy and the Americas are struggling the way they're struggling, what is going to become of us? We are worried. Elmi, Gillian, you will recall, you're the only two people I am sure that you saw this visually. I don't know who else was on visually, but worried was the biggest letter that we had. And you're worried about a number of things. What if I contract the virus? What if I don't complete my degree this year? What if I can't get a job even if I complete? Because I know people around me with more experience who are already losing their jobs. But mostly it's actually compounding the already uncertain future that young people have been facing today. We know that there is already a challenge in terms of, unemployment of graduates, not just unemployment period, but unemployment of graduates getting into the 30%. So now compounded by what we face at the moment, it can really sink you into a sense of, it's a rabbit hole. It's justified that you would be sitting there worried, frustrated. I saw the word. There's uncertainty. No one seems to know when this is going to end and how. One day we woke up on the other side of Corona. We don't know what hit us. Suddenly, we just woke up and it was there right in front of us. We can't even say when it came. We can just tell you that on the 5th of March is when our first case in South Africa was pronounced. But beyond that, we cannot. Angry, I did see angry on the earlier slide. We are angry because we are disrupted. We are angry because we are disrupted. Beginning of this year, you had your hopes high. You had the year plotted, particularly this group of people I'm talking to. You have worked so hard to earn your position as a Golden Key member. And now you're asking yourself so many questions, irrespective as to whether you are in year one or you're about to complete. It actually makes you really angry that you're not in control, and yet this is actually where you find yourself due to no fault of your own. Confused, it was there on the slide.
Yes.
Confused because you just don't know. There's too much information, conflicting at times. You know what this proves? It just goes to prove that we know everything and nothing about COVID-19. But what we know for certain is that we don't know anything. It sounds like a mouthful, but that's exactly where we find ourselves.
Absolutely.
Just continuing with that, a few more words that I also picked up. Anxious. It was also on the other slide. We don't know what we don't know, and that makes us anxious. We are in a state of panic. What if the world is coming to an end? Can our system even deal with the likelihood of an upsurge of infections, especially right now as we approach winter, which is the flu season? All of those things are concerns of ours. We feel disconnected from the rest of the world. Right now, we can't even travel. And not everyone is well positioned to connect virtually. All human beings are not created for isolation. I, for one, feel it because I love being out there with people. But when I have to be behind my four walls, I just really feel that I'm not optimal because I draw my energy from other people. Even those that can call themselves introverts. You want to be introverted, but you want to be able to do things that you want to do when you want to do them. not to be forced and cornered into a situation that you just have to be behind closed doors. Survivor guilt, realistically and figuratively. Survivor guilt is something that I've personally gone through. I am very privileged to be working for an organization that has done immensely well in terms of looking after its employees, ensuring that at the moment our jobs are secure and that we're well looked after from a health perspective and so on, right? I'm talking from my perspective. But I look around me and I see what's happening. I'm amongst people that have lost their jobs, received their salary cards, and so on. There's so much that is happening. So I almost feel guilty for being a survivor. That is survivor guilt. If I want to now turn it around and say, in your where you sit at the moment, if you are happy, although it's perfectly fine that you are where you are, there is almost some survivor guilt when you realize that people around you maybe cannot connect, they don't have the tools. It's just, it could be somebody who's actually even your friend or your classmate or whatever. They do not have the tools to use in order for them to be connected as much as you are. I mean, I've had people that are having to do assignments on the phones. I can't begin to tell you how that, how does that actually work, that you do your assignment on the phone. So
Absolutely.
Your survivor guilt, might actually be based on the fact that, you are in a better off situation and somebody is not. You know what this has done? It has actually just really revealed the inequalities, technological divide, and a whole lot of other things. There are people right now whose homes are not conducive for them to even be learning, because you're staying in a home where maybe there are 8 people in one room or whatever the situation is. But guys, this is our reality in South Africa. Feeling this way is normal. We are human after all. But the biggest question is, which of these are we in control of? Right. I'm going to move on, and I would really like to talk about, where is our hope? We need to ask ourselves those questions. When I was reading a lot about hope, because it can be articulated in so many ways, and, depending on, whether you're religious or whatever the case may be, hope can be articulated. But I had to find one articulation that really grabbed me, which I felt that could resonate with everyone. There's one that said, hope is an optimistic state of mind that is based on an expectation of positive outcomes with respect to events, circumstances in one's life or the world at large. As a verb, it defines, or its definitions include expect with confidence and to cherish a desired anticipation. Then I couldn't help but quote Viktor Frankl when he said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, oh my gosh, that's us. We are challenged to change ourselves. Just pausing for a moment there, because this really, really hit home. So let's talk about some hard facts, right? Let's just talk about some hard facts, because I think it's important to acknowledge. I always like to make sure that I acknowledge where we're at. I know I'll be the first person to put up my hand and say it is exhausting to push through these challenging times. But when we remain resilient and persevere, it can be an experience that changes us for the better. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me on this one. There are certain circumstances and experiences that we simply have to accept and cope with. And I think that, as much as this can sound generic, this is actually talking to us right now.
Yes.
One major way to promote courage and determination is to face obstacles. Is to find meaning in negative life events. Gosh, it's a real challenge. We have got to find meaning in these negative life events. The ability to make sense of our struggles and bounce back, guys, important, bounce back from stress is an important function in dealing with uncertainties. We can endure anything when we have a compelling reason to do so. So on my presentation, it's a shame if you can't see it, I was highlighting those words that really, really, resonate and that have a meaning, that have a punch. We can endure anything when we have a compelling reason to do so.
It's
Now, the
very
question
well, people can see it, Elegance. They can
oh,
see yes, they can see your presentation,
okay.
and they can see the bold words, yes.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. So I think that, you know, in this statement alone, the question that I would ask and leave it hanging is to say, do you remember the dream? Do you remember the dream from January 2020? The statement says we can endure anything when we have a compelling reason to do so. Is your dream that you had not a compelling reason enough? Thus, hope, our hope is found in the opportunities that this particular environment or this particular set of circumstances actually presents. I like this because this was actually said, you know, by an actual student, right? The paradox of hope. What I would like to say to you is, as young people, you have never had a better chance to change the world. It may not feel so right now, but now is the time. You have never had a better chance to be able to do that. I often hear, I have a daughter who's in matric, a son who's already working, but a daughter who's in matric. She reminds me a lot about my younger self. I used to have these dreams about changing the world. I just didn't know how. But at this point in time, I think you as young people have been put in exactly that situation and position in which this could be your chance to change the world. Why did Corona even come now? Why didn't it come when I was your age? I think it needed you to be able to turn around this situation. So there is a student called Grace Lagan from a university in Sydney. This is what she said about the paradox of hope. And herein lies the paradox of hope. It is the times when it is the hardest to find that we need it the most. Hope cannot make the problems we face go away. How so true? Nor can it solve them. But it gives us something even more enduring, that is the motivation to keep going in spite of it all. And as we begin to look beyond the immediate crisis, which we find ourselves in at this point, hope is the one commodity our generation must harness. I now know, for myself at least, that it won't be in short supply. I just think that if you are to hang on to anything at all, forget about everything else that I've said and take away with you what Grace Lagan from a university student in Sydney actually said. Right, let's talk about what opportunities then do we find. We say that we can find hope in the opportunities that the current crisis actually presents. How then do we start to activate that? Because it's not going to happen if we just sit back and worry and stress and be angry and so on and so forth. But we need to feel this because that's our authentic self at this point in time. But how do we rise above that? How do we actually start activating a position where we can feel hopeful again? One of the things that, and this, like I said, I have been engaging quite extensively with people from all over the world, and just to try and find out, what are people doing? How exactly can we get ourselves out of this? Or how can we start to navigate? At the moment, Corona is not going to disappear on the 31st of December. We are, for the longest time, going to have to sit side by side with it. But as we do that, how do we then start forging this thing that says it's our time to change the world? What can we do? Educate family, friends, and community. This is your opportunity to start spreading awareness, both offline and online. We need to start to be responsible by verifying whatever information that you see out there before sharing. And we need you to be the source of calm before the storm. How about volunteering? These are some of the things that are, and I've seen so many of these things happening, in my research. I've seen, people finding opportunities in communities to volunteer, helping the elderly, and any of the compromised individuals that you may find. I know for sure a group of young people in the UK who's actually picking up groceries for the elderly. Because as you know, at this point in time, it is said that it is the elderly that are a little bit vulnerable or more vulnerable than the other groups. So what this group of people is, they're taking turns, in actually just going to, buy groceries for them so that they will actually won't have to go out, or even tutoring other students who are struggling at this point in time. What this situation is teaching us is how do we care for other people while we're at it. Donating. I do know that, sometimes as students, we may not necessarily have that much from a material perspective. But it's important for you, if you know that you do have, I did run a very small campaign with my young people, and I encouraged them to donate devices that they were no longer using, whether it was a computer, as long as it worked, whatever it is, donating to others that actually didn't have at this point in time. And you'll be very surprised, a willing heart, what a willing heart can actually do. If you can, amongst yourselves, even amongst this group, you would know somebody who's struggling. Do try and assist in whatever way possible that you can. How about starting to hold our government accountable? I mean, it sounds like, oh my gosh, how do I even start? Well, many young people, there are actually quite a number of platforms to be able to do that, right? Many young people out there in the world, they are being the voice for the voiceless. They are engaging with elected officials and lawmakers, advocating for, if you look at it in this particular context, advocating for free testing, reliable information. How about more investments in investment in the sciences? Because at this point in time, that's where all the research is doing. This is something that as young people, you can actually spearhead right now and not even wait until post-corona. But everything that you're going to do, you're going to be responsible. You're going to follow the rules and regulations. You will do it in a way that makes sure that you protect yourself and you protect other people as well. Let's talk about innovation. We're still on opportunities as a collective. Now, we have seen that this situation has catapulted us into circumstances that we were not ready for. Even for myself, working for a technology company, there's a number of things that we were not ready for. This is the time to start thinking about how you can innovate to improve access. It doesn't matter whether it is access to healthcare, access to technology, access to, but it is time, because you could be the brains, behind innovation. You could actually be the brains behind finding a vaccine, right? For the current situation, but also for any other unexpected, occurrences that may actually happen in the future. And I'm actually covering it right here at the bottom: research and development for the current and any other future unpredictable events. You have seen that there is so much unpredictability, and it doesn't actually mean that when Corona goes, that's the end. But we look to young people, to say, how can you actually play a part in making sure that we are never found napping again? Ensuring the vulnerable are not also left behind in whatever way you can. You know that there are vulnerable people out there. How do we ensure that we try as much as possible to move towards closing the gap that actually currently exists? Then in terms of the environmental impact, I have seen quite a lot of schools of thoughts around, okay, maybe the environment needed to breathe and so on and so forth. I saw iterations of animals coming out and human beings locked inside, and animals are the ones that are out. I saw the oceans and the seas, clean. We have been given a head start. I'm sorry to say, it's not exactly ideal in terms of the set of circumstances that we find ourselves in, but maybe that is the healing, right? Remember on that other slide, we talked about the fact that we need to find positives in a negative situation. There goes a positive. If you look at, the beaches at the moment, they're actually quite clean. You can see, you can actually see that the sea creatures are coming all the way out to have fun. They are basking in the sun that we used to bask in, right? How do we ensure as young people, what can we do to ensure that we never go back there again? that we become a lot more responsible individuals going forward? I'm leaving it up to you. I don't know what the answers are, but I know for sure the answers lie with you. Let's just really talk about, some opportunities at an individual level. As I was interviewing people and I was asking, so what are some of the opportunities that have been presented by this situation? Somebody said to me, there is definitely a shift in mindset. We have been put in a situation where we start caring for others before ourselves. Even that act of washing hands, sanitizing, putting on a mask, and helping somebody else, that's actually, maybe we were going too fast. I don't think that we were actually thinking about others. I think we've thought about ourselves, the most. But I can see right now, by you being responsible, it's actually quite a huge shift of your mindset. My daughter told me about the end of helicopter paradigm. Okay, there's a lot of things that she doesn't agree with the way the education system and so on and so forth, but that's a discussion for another day, right? She feels that, this has been an opportunity to take more responsibility by building self-discipline and having to work without lectures breathing down your neck. She said this is the opportunity that we need to be given to prove ourselves that we can do these things. Time to reflect. I'm sure schools consumes most of your time. You are forever thinking about the next assignment, the next test, and the next exam. But at this point in time, I do believe that every time before bedtime, you do get time to reflect a little bit about the day's events, and you're just really able to do a bit of introspection. Being at home also allows you to break away from it all and experience school differently. It's easier to reflect on your day, daily activities, and whatever else you wish, by being on your own. This can lead to learning more about yourself and thus adopting habits that will ultimately align with your newfound self-discoveries. How about a bit of exploration of learning styles that actually suits you better? And there is also been more family time in some instances. All of these things, the underlying point that I would like to mention on this particular slide is it all requires discipline. Without discipline, you will not be able to achieve or to experience all of these things as opportunities. I'm going to go through very quickly a survival kit of things that I really think could be some tips, that could really help you to, I'm now on the Sanity, you're trying to keep sane. You're really trying to just make sure that you don't go crazy. Every day when you wake up, you need to wake up and dress up. You need to wake up early, you need to take a shower, and you need to dress up and have your breakfast. I know a handful of psychologists, that have actually said, you know what, it helps you with your day and to be confident, if you do that. You cannot, because if you don't do that, it may actually just bring you down even more. One psychologist that I can quote here said, getting dressed in the morning can play a role in your mood throughout the day and lead to further productivity, optimism, motivation, and an overall improved mood. Just by doing that, can you imagine? You need to also follow a healthy routine. Routine is key critical. What the university was giving you was routine. Now you need to put a routine. A number of researchers have found that following a normal routine gives us comfort and creates a feeling of security and control over one's day. How about a bit of exercise? I mean, even if it means breathing exercises, just like yoga, it does help with regeneration of your brain cells. It improves your memory and it supercharges your cognitive performance as well. Also important for you to have a dedicated study space if you can. I know it can be tempting. It has tempted me before to spend the entire day in bed on a couch with your laptop, but it just isn't healthy for our bodies at the end of the day, and it can lead to fatigue and eventually pain in the neck and upper back. It just doesn't inspire confidence. Let's just put it that way. We also need to be wary of home and social media boundaries wherever is possible. Guys, this is not prescriptive. This is just a list of things that you can do. It's not always possible to apply it across the board, but whatever it is that you can apply, it is important. It's important that you create these boundaries within your home and that your family members understand that you're busy completing your university tasks and that you should not be distracted at that point in time. Whenever you can, it's important. Additionally, just be mindful of social media. It can be a huge distraction and it's actually much better. I know you are the connected generation. I don't know whether to continue to call you the connected generation or the corona connected generation. Okay, it goes corona connected generation. You know, I would advise that rather better log in and out. Log in when you are having your breaks or when it's after, and then just log yourself out because it's very difficult not to read that message when it comes through. But it completely takes you off what you're doing, and then one thing leads to another, and so on. A few more survival tactics or survival tips. Find more time to spend outdoors. It's important. It's also important just for you to stand outside because it actually helps you out to just stretch your eyesight as well. Not only do you benefit from vitamin D for being outside, but it also just calms your minds, it re-energizes you, and it also reduces fatigue. All these things are being said by people who are specialized in these fields. Sticking to your bedtime can also really help you because you really need to get in your hours of rest. It's important. Somebody was telling me they're tired, right? That was on that slide. They was tired there. Right? It probably means that you're not getting sufficient time to rest for whatever reason. It's really important that you are able to look after yourself in order for you to be able to look after other people. Then one that I can't emphasize enough is staying in touch with your family and friends. It's really important to stay in touch. Social distancing, as much as it can be difficult, especially if you are an individual like me who is a social butterfly. But it doesn't mean that it's isolation. It's not social isolation. You can still make contact with friends and family and vice versa. It's really important. Even when you're not doing well, it's important for you to reach out to someone. I know universities even have such platforms, but even, besides that, just reach out and say, guys, I'm struggling, I'm drowning. It's really important. And then also this is something that I had to teach myself. Choose your news consumption. It's important for you to stay informed, but please, guys, don't get stuck in the statistics. They can be very, very depressing. Conclusion. Ladies and gents, there is no going back now. There is absolutely no going back. We can only but move forward. But in doing so, there are incredible opportunities for yourselves to reimagine and redesign a purposeful future. One that is inclusive. We have talked about the lack of inclusivity. The one that has in it prosperous communities. We have seen how difficult social distancing can be in a place like Alex. And also ensuring that we have sustainable economies. And to do this successfully, we need every single one of you at your best. There is something in you, and I said it in the beginning, there's something in you that the world needs. Otherwise, this would not have happened in your time. So, question, what is the leader in you saying? Before I open it up to questions for whatever time that we're left with, I'm just going to leave you with the words of wisdom from John Maxwell. He said, the pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. But the leader, which I believe that's the leader in you, will adjust the sails. We need young people's leaderships, or we need young people's leadership now more than ever before. I'm going to pause. I think I've said quite a lot. I'm going to pause.
Sure, Elegance, thank you. While people are thinking about what are the things they still want to ask you, I want to say that what I really want to emphasize on the things that you said is, first of all, don't ever lose your dream and your hope, and to take control over that. It's so easy to get swamped and swallowed by the situation and the circumstances at the moment. And I think that's very powerful to keep that in mind. And the second very important thing is that take control of your own behavior. And we also forget that. It's so easy to fall into a victim role, and that you remind us not to be the victim of the situation. And then I want to reiterate to our members as well, everything that you said in terms of the tips that you gave us resonates so well with the 3 strategies of Golden Key. And that is first, academic performance. So trust the science, contribute to the science, make sure that you call out fake news, make sure that you get your information from reliable sources. Secondly, be a leader in your own home, in your own person, but also in your community on a national level and then on a global level by calling onto the government, for instance, and making sure that you can contribute to research wherever possible. And then the community service. I am in Africa because we are. None of us is an island, and we can't function as in an island situation. So I think all of these things are so powerful and so important to us. And I think for people, it really gives them something to hold on to. I also see that there are no questions because I think they are rethinking, they are imagining, and they're kindling the message of hope at the moment. So thank you very much for that. People can really feel free to talk to Elegance, to comment on anything else. So she's already starting to put in a new menti.com here. I can tell you that you need to go back to your menti.com. Thank you so much for this really inspiring, insightful talk. I've so enjoyed it. But don't leave us. You see that Elegance is already stretching you again back to menti.com, and she's already putting in the questions. Wonderful webinar. Thank you. We will march on. So, Elegance, I'm going to give back to you to do the menti.com exercise.
Thank you very much. I can see that, we've got some, look, this is a group of smart people. Somebody has already come in and say what stood out for them. So what I would really like to know is what stood out for you. And I've put up the question again, what stood out for you in terms of what we have had a conversation about. And the beauty of it is, guys, I'm available for you. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, I do quite a lot of coaching young people as well. If anybody wants to get in touch and they're struggling with something and they just really want somebody to, I will make time. I am going to find that time, and I will make time because I am an honorary member of this Golden Key, and it is in my best interest that you are at your best at all times. So it's important, really, really key critical, that we reach out to each other and that I'm able to help you in whatever way that I can with whatever. So another thing that I would also like to say is, please do draw from whatever resources that are out there. There is a lot of companies that are offering this free and that free, and this is the kind of information that you should be interacting with. Do draw from that. And if you want to ask me a question that says, look, I'm struggling with this, or I would like that, where can I get it from? Guys, I implore you, please do reach out. You can reach out through Elmarie, through Gillian, or you can reach out to me directly. I will be more than happy, because I would really want to get you guys back on the wheels, get you guys back on track, and just know that we cannot lose hope whatsoever. So I'm going to give it a minute or two, just to see. I can see the hope, is getting bigger. Let's talk about what stood out for you. If you do not have the website, you've forgotten it, it's menti.com, and the code is 643530. Let's just talk about what stood out for you so that it can be more of that in future. And who knows, maybe we will revisit this in a different way at another time. I've really, really enjoyed engaging with you. I really wish I could see your faces, but time shall come where I am actually going to be right there with you and interacting with you and sitting on panels and answering questions and just really having a good time.
You flipped the coin, Elegance, from what we saw initially and what we see now, where anxious, worry, stress were the key words. It's now hope and leadership are the key words. Wonderful. I mean, an hour later, people already shifted their mindset to something positive and something that they can take control over. And that is exactly what we wanted, for people to hold on to the minute again and say, it's not all hopeless. And
thank you so much.
That is really very, very inspiring. So people say, how can they reach out to you? And I will put my email address in here, and then I will forward it to you. As you may be overwhelmed by keen, energized Golden Key members.
I think it's for a good cause, because I do believe that as much as I speak in the I, my, future is right behind me. I'm looking at people whose future is way ahead of them. So if I can be that anchor, to assist and enable and handhold our future leaders, then I would rather be overwhelmed than underwhelmed and let a generation go down the drain. So wonderful. I will make myself available.
Would you like to give us your email address that we put in here? Which one do you want?
Absolutely.
All right.
I think where I can keep track is elegance.gozo@gmail.com. No, don't use Gmail, use iCloud, at icloud.com.
Okay, at icloud.com. I am typing it in the chat box, elegance.gozo@icloud.com. There you have it.
Absolutely.
Guys, what a wonderful opportunity to keep touch with a very inspiring, very successful woman who I knew is the right person to bring this message to us this afternoon. And what a great way to end our week and to start level 3 on Monday. So thank you very much, Elegance.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. I really absolutely appreciate your audience, and I appreciate what I'm seeing right now, the fact that you were listening and you have been impacted and you are entering level 3 with a lot of hope and feeling that you are actually leaders today and that you are remembering your dream. I really would like to appreciate you. Thank you, Elmi, and thank you, Gillian. I've got to run to my next engagement, but I'll definitely keep this and I'll definitely keep in touch.
Thank you very much. And we will make the webinar available on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time. And I'm going to call on you again. When we really get exhausted, we'll get Elegance to give us hope again. Thanks,
Thank you very much. Go well, and all the best to everyone. Keep safe.
Thank you.
Keep sane. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Thank you, everybody. So with that, we say goodbye to Elegance. And thank you again for the Golden Key members who joined. We do appreciate you. Remember, always, you are awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.